18 days ago, I thought I'd never see her again, or any of her family. She'd never see any of our families, because that was the feeling we had as terrorists closed in on our house. We buried my sister-in-law, Naomi. It took 4 days to identify what we call the smile of the south of Israel. She was shot in the back and shot again in the head at point-blank range. My name's David Barr, originally from Leeds in the north of England. I've been in Israel since 1985 and on kibbutz Alumim, which is between Be'eri and Kfar Aza, since 1991. 6:30 that morning, the rockets came over, but we're used to that. 20 years we've had it. By 7:15 it was very strange that it hadn't stopped. We're normally in and out of the bomb-proof room, but this time we were staying in. And as religious Jewish people, we don't normally open our mobile phones and televisions on the Sabbath, and it was also a festival. But we opened it in the sanctity of life to look after ourselves. And the messages started to come through. The first thing I saw was cars in Sderot. Open cars with RPGs, machine guns, rattling everybody. Like in a film. 11 kilometers away. Carried on getting messages just to stay in and stay in. 1 hour, 2 hours. I turned to my wife and I said, you know, Naomi, she normally runs. That was her hobby. My wife wanted to believe she was okay. I knew she wasn't okay. And she never ran with her phone. 2 o'clock in the afternoon, after just over 30 hours, we left kibbutz Alumim. We couldn't go with our members because we had to stay in the area to wait to find if Naomi's body would be identified. And for that short time, we were in their shoes. It's a pain and an anguish you cannot describe. And it's horrible to say, but the relief to know she'd been shot and that we could bury her came through 4 days later. It was a relief.
I just saw you had a very emotional embrace with your sister just then. Do you mind telling me what was the emotions going for you just now?
My sister lives in Manchester, and all I can tell you is 18 days ago I thought I'd never see her again, or any of her family. She'd never see any of our families, because that was the feeling we had as terrorists closed in on our house. To look through windows and see terrorists with Kalashnikovs, with RPGs walking around the kibbutz. Just to murder. We found even, I have it here, it's in Arabic, the papers on the terrorists told, kill as many on Alumim as you can. Take as many hostages as you can. I have the map exactly where they were supposed to come in. They knew everything. And what seems to have come out now is we've realized they knew to go exactly to where the youngsters live. On most kibbutzim, we have little areas where the teenagers, and they have their own rooms, and they knew there was an arrow straight there. And in Kfar Aza, they burnt them down. This isn't a war. It's not the Israel-Palestinian conflict. This is a war against humanity. Nothing less. And it can't be that tomorrow everybody will turn around and say, okay, we reported it and we'll carry on. If you turn the other cheek this time, it'll haunt you back in the future. Israel is fighting the war of the West. When I grew up, I won't deny that there wasn't anti-Semitism. I remember 1977, there was the National Front. We were beginning to gain popularity. But I remember in the school, they were brave enough to have a conference, a 3-day conference against extremism. and people felt safe to do it. I'd never ever felt threatened as a Jew to walk around the streets of England. I'd never felt I wasn't part of society. I never felt that the people around me are people that I can talk to, even if they're a different religion, a different colour, a different race. We could always talk. I had a Pakistani friend. My father, who was a dental surgeon, had an Indian working with him. Partners. And obviously, non-Jewish partners. We live together, everybody respecting each other's cultures. It doesn't feel like that now. It just doesn't feel it. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm not. I haven't heard any moderate religious leader stand up and condemn what the Hamas did. I don't need sympathy for what we're going through. I need people to condemn that act, and I have a feeling, and I may be wrong, that people are frightened to condemn that act. One thing in my studies I learned, and I use it in school as well. Whatever is on the periphery of society, tomorrow it's in the centre. We can ignore it. We can try and say, oh, it's somewhere else. It doesn't work like that. What's not dealt with, tomorrow it's on your doorstep.
What were your thoughts on the pro-Palestinian protests that have been taking place in London?
Everybody's entitled to their opinion. But anybody who identified with the atrocities that happened 18 days ago and can pick up a flag and wave it in the name of those atrocities, then don't ask me the question. But you here in Britain have a problem, a big problem. May even be out of control. And each time I go back to those regaim, moments, when you think your whole family is going to be wiped out. Your whole life just goes in front of you in seconds.
There have been calls for an immediate ceasefire to allow for humanitarian aid to get into Gaza. We've already seen some trucks getting into Gaza. Would you also support an immediate ceasefire?
I rely on the Israeli army and the Israeli authorities to do the moral act. I knew they would let supplies in. And believe me, there's pressure on them in Israel not to let supplies in. Everybody has their own opinion. Let me tell you about this. For the last 8 years since the last war, Tzuk the Eitan War, we've been blind, not people in our area, but the government. And I'm not going into Israeli politics because it doesn't matter if it's Bennett, Netanyahu, Lapid, Lieberman, doesn't matter. They all did the same mistake. They kept saying, it's okay. We'll let the Qatari money go in and you've got quiet. We kept saying no. They're building tunnels, we know, quiet, in their languages, prepare for an attack. And they kept saying, through the people in charge of our councils, no, don't worry, everything's okay. And so much so that, like when there were rocket attacks, I don't know if you can imagine, but as a teacher, I could be one day in the morning, there's rocket attacks, okay, school's closed, not to come, and then 12 o'clock, oh, we're opening. We're human beings. We're not robots that you turn on and off. And I feel that in this particular case with the south of Israel, there was a certain, misunderstanding of the way we feel. People saw things going on around the fence. Things were reported. But it seems that we were a bit blind. We believe in peace and we believe in buying quiet. So tell me, can we believe in the Hamas?